Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 2, Chapter 16. When he reached home, Levin questioned his friends about Kitty's illness and the plans of the Shtcherbatskys. It was not without pleasure, though it was with some conscientious scruples, that he heard how she who had caused him so much suffering was suffering herself. But when Stepan Arkadyevitch spoke of the reason of Kitty's illness and pronounced the name of Vronsky, he interrupted him. I have no right to know these family matters, since I am not concerned. Stepan Arkadyevitch smiled imperceptibly as he noticed the sudden change in Levin, who in an instant had passed from gaiety to sadness. "Have you succeeded in your transaction with Rabinin about the wood?" he asked. "Yes, I've made the bargain. He gives me an excellent price. 38,000 roubles, 8 in advance and the rest in 6 years. I had been long about it. No one offered me any more." "You are selling your wood for a song," said Levin, frowning. "Why so?" said Stepan Arkadyevitch with a good-humored smile, having known that Levin would totally disapprove of it. "Because your wood is worth at least 500 roubles a desyatin." "Ach, you rural economists," replied Stepan Arkadyevitch. "What a tone of scorn to us, your urban brother. And yet, when it comes to business matters, we come out of it better than you do. Believe me, I've made a careful calculation. The wood is sold under very favorable conditions, and I fear only one thing. That is, lest the merchant will regret it. It's wretched wood." He went on, accenting the word wretched, so as to convince Levin of the unfairness of his criticism. "And nothing but firewood. There will be more than 30 zashens to the desyatin, and he pays me at a rate of 200 roubles. Levin smiled scornfully. "I know these city people," he thought, "who, for the once in 10 years that they come into the country, and the 2 or 3 words of the country dialect, plume themselves on knowing the subject thoroughly. Wretched, only 30 zashens. He speaks without knowing a word of what he's talking about. I do not allow myself to criticize what you put on paper in your administrative functions," he said, "and if I needed, I would even ask your advice. But you imagine that you understand this document about the wood. It is bad. Have you counted the trees?" "What, count my trees?" asked Stepan Arkadyevitch with a laugh, and still trying to get his friend out of his ill humor. "Count the sand on the seashore, count the rays of the planets, though a lofty genius might." "No, da, I tell you the lofty genius of Rabinin succeeded. Never does a merchant purchase without counting, unless indeed the wood is given away for nothing, as you have done. I know your wood. I go hunting there every year. It is worth 500 roubles a desyatin, cash down, while he gives you only 200. And on a long term. That means you give him 30,000. "No, enough of imaginary receipts," said Stepan Arkadyevitch plaintively. "Why didn't someone offer me this price?" "Because the merchants connive with each other. I have had to do with all of them. I know them. They are not merchants, but speculators. None of them is satisfied with a profit less than 10 or 15%. They wait till they can buy for 20 kopecks what is worth a rouble. No, enough. You're blue." "Not at all," said Levin sadly, just as they were approaching the house. A strong teljega, drawn by a well-fed horse, was standing before the door. In the teljega sat Rabinin's first prikashchik, holding the reins, and Rabinin himself was already in the house and met the 2 friends at the vestibule door. The merchant was a man of middle age, tall and thin, wearing a mustache, but his prominent chin was well shaven. His eyes were protuberant and muddy. He was clad in a dark blue coat with buttons set low behind, and he wore high boots, and over his boots huge galoshes. Wiping his face with his handkerchief and wrapping his overcoat closely around him, though it was not necessary, he came out with a smile to meet the gentlemen as they entered. He gave one hand to Stepan Arkadyevitch as though he wanted to grasp something. "Ah, here you are," said Stepan Arkadyevitch, shaking hands. "Very good. I should not have ventured to disobey your Excellency's orders, though the roads are very bad. In fact, I came all the way on foot, but I'm here on time. A greeting to you, Konstantin Dmitrich," he said, turning to Levin, intending to seize his hand also, but Levin affected not to notice this motion, and calmly relieved his game-bag of the snipe. "You've been enjoying a hunt? What kind of a bird is that?" asked Rabinin, looking at the snipe disdainfully. "What does it taste like?" and he tossed his head disapprovingly, as though he felt doubtful if such a fowl were edible. "Won't you go into the library?" asked Levin in French. "Go into the library and discuss your business there." "Just as you please," replied the merchant in a tone of disdainful superiority, wishing it to be understood that if others could find difficulty in transacting business, he was not of the number. In the library, Rabinen's eyes mechanically sought the holy image, but when he caught sight of it, he did not make the sign of the cross. He glanced at the bookcases and the shelves lined with books, and manifested the same air of doubt and disdain that the snipe had caused. "Well, did you bring the money?" asked Stepan Arkadyevitch. "The money will come all in good time, but I came to have a talk." "What are we to talk about? However, sit down." "May as well sit down," said Rabinin, taking a chair and leaning back in it in the most uncomfortable attitude. "You must give it a trifle, Prince. It would be sinful not to do it. As to the money, it's all ready, even to the last kopeck. On this side there will be no delay." Levin, who had been putting his gun away in the armory and was just leaving the room, stopped as he heard the last words. "You bought the wood at a miserable price," said he. "You came to visit me too late. I would have engaged to get much more for it." Rabinin arose and contemplated Levin from head to foot with a smile, but said nothing. "Constantine Levin's very sharp," said he at length, turning to Stepan Arkadyevitch. "One never succeeds in arranging a bargain finely with him. I've bought wheat and paid good prices. Why should I make you a present of my property? I did not find it, nor steal it." "Excuse me. At the present day it's absolutely impossible to be a thief. Everything is done in the present day honestly and openly. Who could steal, then? We have spoken honestly and honorably. The wood is too dear. I shall not make the two ends meet. I beg you to yield a little. But is your bargain made or is it not? If it's made, there's no need of haggling. If it's not, I'm going to buy the wood." The smile disappeared from Rabinin's lips. A rapacious and cruel expression, like that of a bird of prey, came in its place. With his bony hands he tore open his overcoat, bringing into sight his shirt, with vests and its copper buttons, and his watch-chain, and from the breast pocket he pulled out a huge, well-worn wallet. "Excuse me, the wood is mine." And making a rapid sign of the cross, he extended his hand. "Take my money, I take your wood." This is how Rabinin ends his transactions finally and positively. He does not reckon in his kopecks, said he, waving his wallet eagerly. "If I were in your place, I would not be in haste," said Levin. "But I've given my word," said Oblonsky, astonished. Levin dashed out of the room, slamming the door. The merchant watched him as he went and lifted his head. Merely the effect of youth, definitely pure childishness. Believe me, I buy this, so to speak, for the sake of glory, because I wish people to say, it's Rabinin and not someone else who's brought Oblonsky's forest, and God knows how I shall come out of it. Please sign." An hour later the merchant went home in his telega, while wrapped up in his furs with the agreement in his pocket. "Oh, these gentlemen," he said to his prikishchik, "always the same story." "So it is," replied the prikishchik, giving up the reins so as to arrange the leather boot. "And your little purchase, Mikhail Ignatitch?" "No, no."